This video is going to show a solo Operation Seraph Shield during week 3 of the Exotic Rotator playlist, which week 1 we had Presage, week 2 we had Vox Obscura, and then the final mission in the playlist is Seraph Shield, so there is no 0 hour or the Whisper mission as of now, but they said they will add more missions to this playlist. So by now, you'll have seen everything this playlist has to offer. The incentive for me to run this is really low because I've already crafted Revision 0 and done all that stuff. It was only recently that we all done this in Season of the Seraph. And I feel as though people who were playing then are probably still playing now. So the playback replayability on this mission is going to be lower than the other two. For number 1, Presage is quite an old mission, and we couldn't craft DMT, and Vox Obscura you couldn't craft Dead Messenger, so the playback loop on those is going to be high, but not this one, not so much. Not to say that the mission isn't good, it's just that we've already done this. It's kind of weird that they sunset it and give us it back all within 12 months. It doesn't feel like a legacy mission because we've only just ran the damn mission, so that's why I don't think there's much interest this week in it. But I figured I would show off a build somewhat on a solo hunter whilst using Lucky Pants with the exotic hand cannon Ace of Spades, which that is CAYDE's weapon basically. Before running this mission I didn't realise though that there's 2 perks that are going against each other. The 2 perks are Memento Mori on the exotic hand cannon itself and Lucky Pants, the exotic boots that give you a buff to hand cannons when you swap to a fully loaded kinetic hand cannon or a matching elemental hand cannon to your ability setup. So Ace of Spades is going to get the buff from Lucky Pants. The problem is Memento Mori, when you build up the stacks you cannot store the perk. In the grand scheme of things this doesn't matter because Memento Mori bullets, the 6 bullets you get, I think it's equivalent to something like Kill Clip anyways, which is nice, but the stacks that Lucky Pants give anyways is going to be more than enough damage, especially for just a normal Seraph mission. I will be honest, like, having ran Sunshot a lot recently, Sunshot basically outclasses Ace of Spades in every single way, to be honest, because everything, you get those explosion kills more frequently, they'll happen on body shot and precision shots, whereas Ace of Spades is limited just to precision shots. But as I say, it's something different. This gun's still nice to use, but I would say that it's still more PvP based than PvE until they buff it, which I have a theory they're gonna buff this gun in Final Shape. It just makes sense for them to do that. It needs a buff. Even with the build that I'm using, it's powerful, it still needs a buff. If you compare this gun, as I said, to Sunshot, Malfeasance, it's outclassed in pretty much every way that you can think of. So this mission is very heavy mechanic based. This mission on normal is not very hard at all. In actual fact I would say it's the easiest exotic mission that we have, especially the normal variant. Legend's a different story, it always is, but I'm aware that to get the ball rolling with Revision 0 you need to do a normal clear first anyways, so for those who haven't got Revision 0 you need to do a normal first anyhow. Alright, so what you want to do is obviously learn the pathing of the mission if you've never done it before. Now you are going to die in this, but there are no triumphs, so even though I've labelled the video as solo flawless, there's no such thing for solo flawless of this mission in the game at the minute. There was also a speedrun triumph, beat the mission within 30 minutes. This was like last year. That doesn't exist anymore, so don't worry about all that stuff. You can take your time in the mission, no problem. But obviously I label it as flawless because it is technically a flawless, and the YouTube meta dictates if you're uploading solo content, you better make sure it's flawless to at least get some views in it. And even then people might not be still interested because they want to see legend or what have you. But like I say, I can do a quick normal for people. So the 3 mechanics in this mission are the 3 jobs that you get: operator, the scanner and suppressor. So for the start of the mission, it's going to learn you all about scanner, really. Mainly, that's what you're going to be doing. This particular room with turrets can be quite dangerous, right? Just take them out from a range. If you are playing on Hunter and you want to skip the majority of the mission, just go on Void Invis. I really just don't like playing Invis as much as possible. The reason being is because I've used a lot of Invis back in the day when the old hard GMs were in the game, where it was almost a necessity at some GMs to run Invis before the resilience change and all that stuff. So I generally don't run Invis because I've played a ton of it. The only time I'll maybe run Invis is if I want to use a volatile build. Alright, I'll play it. But other than that, I didn't want to. Right, I wanted to play something else. Ark's getting a lot of play on Hunter. Solar isn't, even though Solar is really good. This particular build, its strength isn't as good as some other builds. I can tell you the Callus Mini Tool will do a better job than what this hand cannon does. But that's not the point. I don't always run the absolute premium best stuff. And it's always been that way for years. If you don't know that by now, then I don't know what to say. With the scanner, we have lost scanner if you notice when we go through that door. But up top, we read the panels. This is the floor puzzle. If you're confused on the floor puzzle, I can link a Reddit post or a Reddit picture in my comments to show you the floor puzzle. The floor puzzle stays the same all the time. What changes is the panels. You've got left, mid, right. 9 panels. So there's different combinations. It could be left, mid, right, left, mid, or all mid. You just need to remember the pattern up above with your scanner. I looked through the glass, saw the panels. The floor puzzle itself that you step on, the tiles, right? If you step on the wrong tile, you wipe. So you need to have that picture next to you when you're doing it, or remember it off by heart. I remember it off by heart. But yeah, put a picture next to you on your first run, just so you're not, as I say, stepping on the wrong floor tile. Right, so now we're back to mechanics. So now it's more about operator. This is the operator section, where we're just opening doors, because that's what operator does. You get the buff, and then a panel will highlight. Not all panels will highlight. You have to shoot in order. It's not that all panels will be highlighted. No, there's an actual route. You can't sort of do the route out of in the wrong order, because there'll be only one panel at a time that glows red. So we come to this vent here, right? We can shoot the panel through that little section there. Then we're going to go jump over the curse for all. We don't need to clear every single enemy. What you got to realize, you don't need to clear every single enemy, because a lot of it is just skippable, really. You're really just doing the mechanics. On Legend, it's a little bit different. You may want to clear out a little bit more enemies. I mean, if you're running invis, you still don't need to, as I've already said. But it is still a decent mission, there's no doubt. It's just that it's quite long. That's the only thing with it, I would say. It's maybe slightly too long, but it is a good mission. So now we'll just make our way to the next section. There's turrets in this next room. Be careful of the turrets. Now I've got the solar fusion rifle on, called the Eremite, which is, I've just crafted today actually. It's the must craft of the season, in my opinion. It is the most important craft that you should be doing, without a doubt. So I might make a video on the craft of this fusion. Like this, I'm playing with it right now. I'm using the crafted version. I might make a video on it tomorrow. We'll see. We're also using a solar LMG just because I'm using a solar subclass, etc. We'll put a banner in as well because we have access to an extra box, so we can spam a bit more heavy. So we'll explore the barrels. This is the first boss, the hive boss. So there's 2 bosses in this. I'm going to swap to my hand cannon, see what damage I do with the Ace of Spades, which is pretty decent, because what you need to realize is we've also got a debuff going on there. So we have a debuff Rapid Fire Ranger. We have Lucky Pants buff and Ace of Spades, along with its general more damage output that it puts compared to a legendary version. So That's decent damage, but it isn't malfeasance damage, and I know that. Someone's going to say, well, just run malfeasance. Yeah, I know. Hello, I saw the GM with it. I know all about it. I'm just trying to use something else for people. That's all, just to show you, as I say, a different gun. That's all that is. Fawn would have been better as well. Literally any other hand cannon you can think of apart from Last Word would have been slightly better. But again, as I say, it's alright. What you need to understand is, though, it has got Firefly, the original Destiny 1 Firefly. It's not Dragonfly. When you get a kill with Firefly, that will extend restoration, but only the Firefly portion of the kill. So I've got an infinite restoration build going on, but the hand cannon isn't doing that good of a job of extending restoration because it's a kinetic hand cannon. In my opinion, it should probably just be a solar hand cannon in the kinetic slot. Give us the elemental burn in the kinetic slot, but that's its exotic perk or part of it. Like, if you don't know from D1, a lot of the raid weapons, Fatebringer and such, were arc in the kinetic slot, right? Well, it was just the kinetic slot, but they were different because they had a burn. I'm just saying, imagine if Ace of Spades was a solar hand cannon but sat in the kinetic slot. That would make sense to its identity in PvE, because then you could make it gel better with Solar 3.0 builds. It does work, but I've got to work harder to make it work. So an explosive kill, a chain and kill, needs to hit at the right time for me to get my extension. So that's where I throw in the fan knives, you know, to sort of get a few stacks of those going, so I've got some restoration. And then I can swap. This is what I'm saying, though. The Sunshot obviously will excel. It's better than Ace of Spades in every single way because of this. Like, Sunshot with this build that I'm using would have been really, really good, honestly. This is good as well, especially with the Eremite, the damage that puts out. It's got Envious Assassin on, which will overflow its mag, so it holds 13, this fusion. I thought it held a little bit more than that. I thought it was 14 or 15, but it's 13. So I can overflow it to 13. So there's no reload with this fusion. So when you do craft it, right, not that I'm giving you too much advice on that right now, if you do craft it, don't spec for reload. There's no need. If you've got Envious, well, Envious Assassin is the only perk that you should be choosing in the first slot. There is Hail Clip, but honestly, no, don't go Hail Clip at all, because the identity of the gun is to be melting bosses and champs. It isn't to be getting a kill and reloading. Your abilities will do all this for you, the health regen. Well, that's a good debuff. Out of luck and service fall. We literally was out of luck, though. So obviously you give up your weapons if you've never done this before. This is the coolest part of the mission. To be honest, it was a missed opportunity for me when it came out, because if you think about it, what they should have done is that you fight without your guns for a little bit. They give you a buff on the left hand side to ability energy, like we do in the new light missions, and you fight with no guns in third person. Maybe make it interesting for this ship, because I was just in third person. And then when you get out of the ship, you get your weapons back. That would have been a little bit better. Like, it's an amazing idea. I'm just saying that they could have went further with this, but they didn't. They just, you were without your weapons for 5 seconds, you get them back. So yeah, that's one thing I think they could have done. The fusion's really good at taking down the turrets. Sometimes you can one-shot them if you're close enough, which is really good. But like I say, you're not timed. That's what takes the wind out of these missions for me, that there needs to be a timer. Alright, you can exclude it from normal, maybe, but there should be a timer to sort of give urgency, because if there's no urgency, then there's no point in anything if you think about it. If you sit in orbit for 10-15 minutes making the absolute top tip best build, it doesn't mean anything if you're not pushed to use that build in a certain way. The content needs to meet the build. Like, that's what it is. That's the problem in the game. Some activities, it does demand maybe sometimes too much of you, like Ghost of the Deep. dungeon. Sometimes I think that's demanding far too much of the player, but then there's some other things that aren't demanding enough. Certain nightfalls are demanding not enough or too much, right? But don't overthink things, especially if you're just trying to do a quick normal solo flawless. You don't need the best build for that, because no matter what you're using, you're going to be melting everything anyways because of the structure of this season. You can debuff any target from a range as long as they've got a crit, right? So you have access to a debuff. This inherently makes all precision style weapons that can reliably crit enemies far more powerful than usual, even auto rifles, because of how rapid you can quickly proc rapid fire ranger. So inherently the season is easy because of that mod, because of its potency. And it will be, because you can debuff everything from a range. Not only that, you've got semi-auto striker or something, whatever it's called. You get armor stacks from range when you get precision hits. It's only limited to so many weapons though, like bows and stuff. But this means you have access to a debuff and a surge from range for free, making most GMs very easy. The trouble is with that, the last thing I'll say on it though, is that 3 of the GMs we have this season are Battleground GMs, which is quite a bit of a problem in my opinion, but we'll see how that plays out. This is just the outside section. Make sure that you're taking the snipers from range. I just pulled out my LMG for that, because we're going to get plenty of heavy coming up anyways, just to quickly deal with them. That is the most dangerous part, I think, is with the snipers, if you don't deal with them fast. This section you can skip. You can skip the double ogres. All you need to be doing is putting your buff in the terminal. That will open the door. Pick up the heavy box. Pop a healing aid if you're worrying about it, but that was fine. So what I'm going to try here again is with Ace of Spades, Lucky Pants, see the damage I do with Rapid Fire Ranger. Debuff him and then use a Blade Barrage. Yes, CAYDE does use the Blade Barrage. He doesn't just use 6-shooter Golden Gun, which on the early cinematics we only ever seen him use 6-shooter, but then he used Blade Barrage in the Forsaken trailer. Well, he used it and then sort of got shot out of it, I think. So obviously he's a solo hunter, so I mean, I imagine he's an arc hunter as well. Nobody's explicitly said that he can or can't use other elements. I don't know. I presume so, because Ikora has access to Voidwalker and Arc. But he wasn't around long enough in D2 for us to really know, to be honest. It'll be somewhere in the lore, but I'm not reading that right now. I'm busy with this. So I'll put my buff in the terminal. There's a lot of swapping here between scanner and operator, using 2 here at once. So the door I've just done is the same. You just rinse and repeating for this door. There's a turret when you go in there, of course. I'm going to pop a healing aid here because I know there's a lot of exploder shanks. This is a death trap kill. That they've done that on purpose, and that's where people do die. So just be careful of that section. We'll put operator back because we need scanner again. It's to be noted as well, the terminals take any buff. It doesn't matter. You just put your terminal, you just put your buff into a terminal to open a door, but it will take all the 3 buffs that you have access to, just like the raid. This little section, there's a turret on the ceiling. That is the #1 thing you need to deal with. We got good damage here there with the hand cannon. It melted that major really quick. I was impressed with it. That is good. It's going to be, as I say, a little harder to use this weapon as opposed to Malfeasance. If you haven't been aware of the Malfeasance build going around, you should definitely try it out, because that doesn't matter if you don't... Well, you do still need to get crits with the weapon, but it's far more forgiving than what this weapon is. If you're body shot, it doesn't matter too much, because the explosive slugs that Malfeasance do is still massive amounts of damage. We'll put operator away because we need scanner again. And we'll hack our last scannable. So the route on screen that you saw is pretty much straightforward once you know. We've overflowed our fusion, so we're going to be ready with that for damage when we get to the boss. I'll pick up this heavy box as well, just so that, well, I won't need to put a banner in because my heavy will be just about max anyways. So this next room is showing you suppressor and how suppressor works. Suppressor is the main mechanic that you're going to be using for the final boss. Now, when I've LFG'd this mission, I have seen people really confused with this mission, especially this buff. They think you need to shoot the balloon itself that's glowing blue. If it's glowing blue, it means the step for you is to step where that balloon is. There's a mini circle on the floor. You stand in the mini circle. You shoot the boss 3 times. You open a door. There's a fallen mine. You destroy the fallen mine. This destroys the shield. You then kill Servitor. That same mechanic that I've just described is what you're going to be doing here, and you'll only do it twice for the final boss, because the first phase is for free because his shield isn't taken up. So I'm trying to get a debuff on the boss. He gets a good nade though. I thought I'd be smarter by doing damage up here, but it didn't really matter, to be honest. So we'll do some LMG ammo first. Then we'll do our Blade Barrage, and then that's phase 1. Blade Barrage still puts out decent damage. Obviously it would be more with Star Eater skills, but you can understand I'm trying to do a little hand cannon build here, so it wouldn't make sense for me to say, oh, this Ace of Spades build, but then I've got then I'm a bit, you know, it's a bit ironic if I then put on Star Eater skills, because then I'm going against everything that I've just told you in the title of my video. So yeah, Star Eater skills is a better option, but I'm aware of that. I know, because I use it. So suppressor buff is located up top by a random enemy, a random orange bar. So it's the same thing. You just shoot in you just go where the blue orb is, stand in the circle, shoot the boss once. Even though you get immune, that you will hear the audio proc to say that you've actually done the mechanic. When they glow yellow, that's when you know. Well, you'll know anyways because the doors will open up. There's 3 doors, left, middle and right. So we'll just use the machine gun because you really don't need much heavy for this fight. Especially the fact that we've got Eremite as our main boss dealing damage weapon. Got boss spec in it as well. So you can speed things up by just using the LMG when I want, or, you know, or throwing knives. So we're on phase 2. I'll try and get Radiant first, because that will stack with stuff, stack with all my other buffs. Try and get a debuff first, and then do some massive damage with this fusion. Can you see how much damage it's doing? That's so good in terms of the damage that it does. Like I said here, it's going to be the most important fusion rifle that you craft this season. It will be tied as the best legendary fusion rifle. It's tied with Riptide. The only reason why Riptide, I would say, is tied with this gun is that Riptide has more utility than this weapon with the chill clip, but it will certainly not put out as much damage as Eremite. Eremite basically takes over from Cartesian Coordinate, which I believe to be the best fusion up until this season. Legendary, I said, I'm not including exotics. I know we've got Telesto, and I know we've got Jotun, but I'm not including all those. And Merciless, I'm not including that either. People are saying basically that the Emerites are legendary Merciless, and I would say that it probably is. That's exactly what it is, actually. So you need to be crafting it. It's a very important weapon. So we're on the final phase. We have our super, so Blade Barrage is going to do the majority of our damage anyways. So I'll just spam my LMG. There's no need to clear out all these enemies. I can obviously start clearing them out to get Restoration going and Radiant going and all that sort of stuff if I want, like so. And making orbs. But it really doesn't, as I say, matter too much. Just because the boss is quite weak. So we're on the final fallen mine. Shield should be down now. We'll try and get a debuff first. I'm going to actually use the hand cannon. It's putting out really nice damage there. I'll actually want to see what this is like with Sturm. That's something I'm going to look at. Sturm and probably Fawn. But that was a solo flawless for the Operation Seraph shield. Hope you enjoy. Thank you.